Greetings Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live, from the Maverick News Network, World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Maverick News channel. Who cares? Mark Carney's response when asked if he has spoken to Trump lately. And he said, oh, who cares? Needless to say, that has set off fireworks. We'll show you. Also, Ukraine peace talks taking place even as we speak. It's a developing story, and we've got you covered. Well, we've got that covered, so we've got you covered, and we'll be back with our coverage of today's top news stories after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so as we reported yesterday, Carney at the G20 summit. Then he went to a news conference to answer questions. And he was asked, have you spoken to Trump lately? We didn't really get into this yesterday. It's really more of a breaking news story today. Breaking in the sense that some people are losing their minds because he said this, which is not surprising because the reaction is somewhat predictable. Here's the clip.
Who cares? I mean, it's a detail. It's a detail. I spoke to him. I'll speak to him again when it matters. I mean, the sort of, comme j'ai dit, nous sommes très occupés. Nous sommes très, très occupés avec l'avenir du Canada. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. Et avec les nouveaux partenariats. Et
it's always useful when they
il y aura des conversations, oui, avec le président et moi, probablement dans les prochaines 2 semaines. Mais on attend de, you know, I'm always happy to, sorry, I slipped into French because I anticipated the en français thing. I look forward to speaking to the president soon, but I don't have a burning issue to speak with the president about right now. When America wants to come back and have the discussions on the trade side, we will have those discussions. I'm going to answer a potential question here, and then I'll pass back, which is, for example, with respect to Ukraine and the 28-point plan. We are a core member of the Coalition of the Willing. You would have seen a demonstration of that yesterday with the meeting of European leaders, a core group of European leaders, the Prime Minister of Japan, ourselves, which formed a common position. And that common position is communicated. Our national security advisors are meeting today in Geneva, including Canada's, and the common position communicated to do the additional work that's required on the peace plan there. Each of us do not need to call President Trump and communicate that position. We need to forge that position. That position's been communicated. The follow-up is being done by our national security advisors. I will be speaking with President Zelensky later today just to close the loop on some aspects of that. Okay.
Next question.
See, the question, as much as it's being framed by the Prime Minister's critics tonight, as much as it's being framed as a trade issue question, it really has as much to do with Ukraine. And as you heard from the actual longer form answer, here's Mario Naufel. Let me just bring this up on the screen. So it is, Carney's making waves around the world with this. Oh, who cares? Carney snubs Trump. World can move on without the U.S. Carney, Canadian PM, Mark Carney, says global progress doesn't need America after Trump boycotted the G20 summit in Johannesburg. Despite the U.S. no-show, nations representing 75% of the world's population and trade reached consensus. And Carney says that carries real weight. I spoke about this yesterday. He announced a record $70 billion investment pledge from the UAE and is striking deals across India, China, and Europe to loosen Canada's reliance on the U.S. Quote, I'll speak to Trump again when it matters. Right now, it doesn't. There you go. And I said yesterday that, Trump is free to disengage from these organizations, World Health Organization, World Economic Forum, although he goes there to speak. He's not fully disengaged. He criticizes the UN, gets in there, stands up, and that's fine. At least he goes and he speaks. But with the G20, because it was held in South Africa, he boycotted. Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't not participate and then feel snubbed when when the world carries on without you. Some people have come on this program and have said America first doesn't mean America alone, but indeed it does in many respects when you disengage, when you're not involved. And as I said yesterday, to quote a Canadian Prime Minister, Brian Mulroney, you can't suck and blow at the same time. Trump wants it his way and only his way. Doesn't want to participate. He just wants everyone to fall into line. And so he's trying to exert pressure by taking his bat and his ball and going home. Now, next year, the G20 goes to the U.S. So as the presidency shifts to the United States for next year for the G20, they will re-engage and the G20 summit will be held in America. And then they get to really set the agenda. So things will change over the next year, to be sure. But right now, you see these other nations coming together, and because Trump has gone to war with the world with tariffs, people are saying, well, fine. What seriously, what else are other countries supposed to do? Well, Trump wants everyone to bend the knee, beat a path to either Mar-a-Lago or the White House, cough up gifts, I guess, because we've seen a lot of that, which seems to be, corrupt. And then media tonight, especially on the Canadian side, it honestly, it's fair game, right? But it wouldn't matter if Carney went the other way and said, oh yeah, I called him 20 times yesterday. Then it would be like Carney's desperate. So it doesn't matter. He's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't call the president, because the conservative online influencers will criticize him no matter what he does. It's a tough gig being a politician these days, always was. But, that's the job. And you got to take it on the chin when you take it on the chin. That's part of the gig, man. Comes with the territory. If you can't stand the heat, stay out of the kitchen. But, Carney's showing some grace under fire there, I would say. So I'm just trying to be fair and honest. And we'll see where it goes. I sometimes wonder, though, how much, friction there really is between Carney and Trump. I don't know if they really fight or if there really is as much at all. I don't know if they're at odds as much as we might be led to believe. You heard the U.S. ambassador just a couple of days ago say that the game plan between Carney and Trump was to put some wins up on the board. Well, I mean, if that's true, then what you were really seeing was a bunch of theatrics. But the ambassador said that it was the ad from Doug Ford where Ronald Reagan was, his clips were used, or his clip, soundbite, talking about tariffs, and that set off Trump, and that undermined the whole thing. But the strategy was to put some wins up on the board, which is to say they were collaborating behind the scenes to announce some sort of a trade deal that I guess was agreeable to both parties. I don't know. I'm not sure I believe that. I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. We'll just have to let it play out. But I'm not going to lose my mind over it. I just see what's going on in the world, and it's America in retreat. It's Trump taking the United States and just pulling in. It's America in decline. As much as, prior to Trump and during, when Rush Limbaugh was still with us, he often would say that it was managed decline by Obama and Biden and the Democrats. But I think we're seeing American decline right now under Trump in a serious way. They're losing their influence globally. Yeah, the United States is still extremely powerful, but America has lost respect. And they're losing their leverage because Trump is America first, and it's turning into, in many respects, in some cases, America only. G20. Here's another headline on the Novel X account, where they post a lot of news, as you know. G20 drafts climate declaration without U.S. as boycott backfires. Don't shoot the messenger if you're a Trump fan. I'm just reading the headlines, man. World leaders approved a draft G20 declaration in Johannesburg without American input, focusing heavily on climate change, despite Trump administration objections. The surprise move leaves the U.S. completely sidelined at the summit. It's boycotting White House official. Quote, drawing up the declaration without seeking U.S. consensus is shameful. Well, then you should show up, dummy. You might not like where things are going, but if you're part of the group and you want input, then go and have some input. Nobody was stopping you except yourself. The draft includes climate provisions Trump opposes, with South Africa pushing renewable energy transition, climate disaster preparation, and equitable lending for developing nations. Ramaphosa will hand the G20 presidency to an empty chair, representing absent America. I talked about that 2 days ago. South Africa rejected sending a low-level diplomat for the ceremonial handover. Yeah, I mentioned that. I think it was 2 days ago. So this is a real serious wedge that has been driven in between the United States and these G20 countries. The United States should be very careful, because Carney made it clear too in his speech that America, I'm paraphrasing now, but what did he say? Just a little too overconfident. Yeah, I believe that. You need us, Donald, more than you're letting on. You have a lot of debt, a lot of responsibility, and you need friends right now. We're your friends. You should stop beating us up. Makes no sense. especially because your new friends are not really your friends. Not really. He's learning the hard way, I think. Even tonight, as we see these peace talks revolving around, Ukraine and the United States at the center of all of that. We're going to dig into that tonight, too. Let me take a little bit of a break here. We're going to come back on the other side. I've got more right after this other stuff to talk about tonight, too. So do not go away. Do not pass go. Just get ready to collect your $200. No promises.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so just to kind of segue into another aspect of this story before we get into the Ukraine stuff, I'm going to pivot back just for a moment to Mark Carney, Canada's Prime Minister, who is over in the G20. Here's the headline: Carney, no burning issue to bring up with Trump, talks to resume when appropriate. That's the headline on CTV. Similar headlines on other media tonight. From Johannesburg, Prime Minister Mark Carney is in no hurry to resume trade talks with U.S. President Donald Trump, but will speak again with the president when it's appropriate, he said today. Carney said he expects to speak with Trump sometime in the next 2 weeks, but otherwise stands ready for when the Americans next knock on Canada's door to return to the table. I don't think it's a bad strategy. I don't think it's a bad attitude. What are you supposed to do? I think the worst thing you could really do at this point is start begging to meet. It shows that you're desperate. And I don't think we are. So just remain calm, carry on. What are you going to do if Trump just is hell-bent on stealing your auto industry and taking all of the jobs? You do something different, but you don't cry and whine and beg. That's the worst thing you can do. So I don't see the issue. In fact, I find it a little bit refreshing, to be honest with you, for him to sit there going, yeah, whatever. Okay. I think it's the right thing to do. I would do the same thing. Well, I might even do more right now because I'm kind of pissed, to be honest. And you'd probably gather that because of all the crap that we see going on. And I'm not upset with America. I'm upset with this guy who has disappointed not just me, but others, so many. And the disappointment is beginning to crack and widen and divide even further. He says, Carney says, when America wants to come back and have conversations on the trade side, we will have those discussions. Fair enough. When he's over his temper tantrum over the advertisement, which was accurate because it used Reagan's actual words, it wasn't artificial intelligence, it wasn't AI generated, then we'll continue to talk, I guess. The whole thing was just theatrics. The Prime Minister made the remarks when speaking with reporters at a news conference in Johannesburg, South Africa, where he's attending the G20 Leaders Summit, which Trump did not attend. And then they get into the Ontario ad here. and touches again on, the rest of the world carrying on. Well, the United States under Donald Trump tries to act like he's the dictator of the world, and he's actually said that. Says he's kind of like the president of the world. No, you're not. You're going to learn. America's going to pay a price. They're already paying a price. They just don't realize it because they're taking the president gold bars in order to pay him off, in order to get a break on tariffs. And when they're leaving that White House, they have nothing but contempt for a guy who has lowered himself to a place where he just literally takes bribes. What kind of president is that? Not one that I look up to. This president takes bribes and does it publicly and is profiting off the presidency, using it as a promotional pulpit. Unbelievable. I mean, there were some things of question during Trump 1.0, but this is like ridiculous. Trump meme coins, Trump watches, selling Teslas on the front lawn of the White House, supporting Elon Musk that way. Oh, by the way, Doge is dead. Here, take a look. Here, a bunch of headlines tonight about this. Doge is dead. That doesn't exist. Doge reportedly quietly disbanded ahead of schedule. USA Today, Donald Trump's Doge is reportedly done after less than a year. Yahoo News, Elon Musk's cost-saving Project Doge for the Trump administration quietly ends. I would say it's ended. It has ended not because it was a failure, but because the actual mission was accomplished. It was never about cost cutting. Never. What do you mean, Rick? It was about purging political opposition. It was about going to battle with the so-called deep state. Trump's vision of the deep state and the people around him, the people who have concocted this cockamamie plan that he's executing from the White House, it was all designed to just get rid of his political opponents, any kind of political opposition at every level of government. That's what Doge was. And in the process, it gave Elon Musk access, unprecedented, and I would say possibly even unlawful access to the data of virtually every American as he pushes forward with his own personal plan, which is probably integrated into Trump's, to move forward with all kinds of social media, Neuralink, transhumanist plans. He's got his own agenda, man. Well, we talked about it last night. Elon Musk's cost-saving project, Doge, for the Trump administration quietly ends ahead of schedule. And people, the Department of Government Efficiency has disbanded 8 months ahead of schedule. This marks an end to President Donald Trump's initiative to slash the size and spending of the federal government. See, Musk promised that said that he had a target of cutting $1 trillion of spending. Didn't even come close. All the statistics indicated that he fell far short of that. We're talking about maybe savings in the range of 220 billion, in that range. And even that seems to be in question. Many are saying that the numbers that Musk was coming up with were inflated, and the numbers that Trump was using were exaggerated. Would he do that? Would he? Oh, yeah. He does all the time. It says another hallmark of Doge was his mission to freeze and reduce government hiring, as Trump said in his first day back in office that he would bar federal agencies from bringing on new employees, with some exceptions for immigration and public safety agencies. And we saw them just hack and slash and fire and lay off public service employees across the board, just haphazardly, because they ended up having to hire a bunch of them back because so many government services were so disrupted as a result of it all. Anyway, it's done. It's gonzo. It's fini. Learn from it what you will, but I would say don't take it all at face value. It was never about cost cutting, because they're still running massive deficits. Massive, 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 massive. Almost like Trump's not a conservative. No, he's not. He's not. He is not. And Zoran Mamdani, who met with him in the White House this week, he was previously called him a fascist. And when asked, do you still think Donald Trump is a fascist? And Mamdani, what did he do? He said, well, yeah. And Trump said, that's okay. You can call me a fascist if you want to. Here, look at this.
Tonight, in a Hollywood-style twist,
I tell you, the press has eaten this thing up.
President Trump and incoming New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani trading their past clashes for compliments.
The better he does, the happier I am.
I appreciated the time with the president. I appreciated the conversation.
A stunning shift after repeatedly blasting each other for weeks.
Their party installed a communist as the mayor of the largest city in the nation.
Donald Trump attacks the very fabric of this democracy.
The president was asked about those past clashes.
I mean, he's got views that are a little out there, but who knows? I mean, we're going to see what works, or he's going to change also. We all change. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually.
The president's warm welcome included stepping in when a reporter pressed Mamdani on his past attacks on the president.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
Mamdani saying he found common ground with the president after speaking with Trump voters in deep blue New York City.
There were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living, and I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
They have starkly different views. Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, has pledged rent freezes and government-run grocery stores and criticized law enforcement, including ICE.
We discussed this at great length, actually, maybe more than anything else. He wants to have a safe New York. If there are horrible people there, we want to get them out. I think he wants to get them out maybe more than I do.
And the president was asked if he'd feel comfortable with Mayor Mamdani in his hometown.
Yeah, I would. I really would, especially after the meeting. The question is, we bring it back all the way. And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, of course you will, because you have a lot more in common with them than anybody, I think, realizes. Probably more in common than you don't. And that's because you're not a conservative, Mr. Trump. You are a fascist. You're an authoritarian, and you didn't mind being called that at all. And you've just admitted exactly what people have been saying for quite some time, and I didn't see it. I knew you were a nationalist, but I never thought during Trump 1.0, I never really equated it to you being a fascist. Even though people accuse you of it, but now in Trump 2.0, when you probably aren't going to have a third term, maybe you will. The fact that you want a third term shows that you're fascistic because you're doing an end run around the Constitution in order to do it. You're an authoritarian. And I would say that communism also has authoritarianism baked into it. And so in that respect, birds of a feather. And there was a bromance brewing in the Oval Office. And what are we seeing there? Convergence. Communo-fascism coming together blossoming in the Oval Office, as I have been saying for quite some time. You're seeing this convergence taking place. And those two guys, adversaries, and, during campaign time and beating each other up with rhetoric. But today, tonight, yesterday, no, they're best of friends and rooting for each other. Now, I have to say, I'm glad to see that they're getting along. It's better for people when you have even government officials or politicians who don't agree with each other from different sides of the aisle, working together to do things that are good for people, for the citizens, for the electorate. But this is surprising to some, not that surprising to me. Although at the end of the day, you get fascists and communists together and they generally end up fighting, sometimes even going to war with each other because there are just some things they disagree on that run so deep that they can't find resolution. And as a result, it results in conflict because that communo-fascistic relationship, which is happening under a populist umbrella, it's dysfunctional. And in the long run, it's very difficult to keep that kind of alliance together. As we will find over time, as cracks begin to emerge in this relationship as well. Today over on NBC, Zoran Mamdani doubled down on the fascism thing. But, well, let's just listen in.
I'm going to follow up with you on your decision
today.
To keep
it's Sunday.
Fish, but to this core question that I think so many New Yorkers are curious to know the answer to. What did President Trump say to you? Did he assure you he will not send troops into New York?
He told me that he cared deeply about public safety. I said I cared deeply about the same.
But did he say he wouldn't send troops?
What I told him is that what separates New York City from anywhere else in the country is we have the NYPD. And I trust the NYPD to deliver public safety. And to me, that is something that I know that they can do, that they have done, and they will continue to do under my leadership.
So he didn't rule it out in your meeting?
I made it very clear what we wanted to do was to deliver public safety and affordability, and the NYPD would be the ones to do so.
In that press conference with President Trump, a reporter asked you whether you believe that President Trump is in fact a fascist, a word that you've used in the past. You were about to answer, then President Trump sort of jumped in and he said, quote, "That's okay, you can just say yes. It's easier than explaining it." So, Mr. Mayor-elect, just to be very clear, do you think that President Trump is a fascist?
And after President Trump said that, I said yes. And
so you do?
And that's something that I've said in the past, I say it today, and I think what I appreciated about the conversation that I had with the president was that we were not shy about the places of disagreement, about the politics that has brought us to this moment. And we also wanted to focus on what it could look like to deliver on a shared analysis of an affordability crisis for New Yorkers.
You've also said in the past that President Trump has engaged in a, quote, attack on our democracy. You've called him a despot. Do you still believe President Trump is a threat to the democracy?
Everything that I've said in the past, I continue to believe. And that's the thing that I think is important in our politics, is that we don't shy away from where we have disagreements, but we understand what it is that brings us to that table. Because I'm not coming into the Oval Office to make a point or make a stand. I'm coming in there to deliver for New Yorkers. And a few weeks ago, I was asked by a reporter 3 words to describe myself. I said, New York City. And that's what animated that conversation. How do we deliver for the people of New York City?
I think that some of...
See, we run this this transition here on the program with a quote from Ronald Reagan where he says, "If fascism ever comes to America, it will come in the form of liberalism." But I would say that's not what's happened. Fascism has come to America, but it has come in the form of, well, they've branded it conservatism. But what I'm seeing in the White House is in no way conservative. It's authoritarian. And even fiscally or the economic policies, it's all about government control. It has nothing to do with free markets. It's 180 degrees away from that now. There were a lot of free market elements in Trump 1.0, but the way he's using tariffs right now, his entire economic plan, it's all about central planning, government control, and more than that, even partial government ownership of some of the vital key industries and sectors control within the United States and abroad, even in other countries. You've seen this philosophy, this economic philosophy being employed or rolled out in places like Ukraine, where it's like, we're going to make a deal you can't refuse. And we're going to take all your resources and we're going to take all your critical minerals in a deal. In exchange, we'll make sure that, the place doesn't burn down. It's pretty sick, actually.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Yeah, before we get into the Ukraine stuff, this will lead us into it. But further to what I've been talking about, you just have to go back and look at the story about, Trump calling for the executions of political opponents in the past week, because they came out and publicly stated, hey, members of the military should not be following unlawful orders. So here on Truth Social, Trump weighing in on it again tonight and reposting some stuff from Glenn Beck, who has talked about this. So some people coming to Trump's defense on this, and what Trump is trying to do is say that, even though he's trying to show that nothing he has done so far is illegal. And so there's no reason for anybody in the military, any soldiers or any generals or anyone, to defy his orders because they are not unlawful. Although if that would, I guess that's open to interpretation. Anything legal is, because you can sue a ham sandwich if you want to. And then spin up arguments to support that. But Glenn Beck here saying this is the law Donald Trump is looking for, 18 U.S.C. 2387, activities affecting armed forces general. This statute makes it a federal crime to do any of the following with the intent to interfere with U.S. military operations: advise, urge, or attempt to cause insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty among members of the U.S. military. 2, obstruct or attempt to obstruct recruiting, enlistment, or general military operations. And 3, distribute written materials advocating any of the above. The law does not require advocating the overthrow of the government. That is 2385. In section 2387 is specifically about undermining the function of the U.S. military. So I think what he's saying here is that Trump is justified in calling for the prosecutions of people who suggested in this video that went viral that U.S. military personnel at whatever level have an obligation to refuse to carry out orders that they believe to be unlawful.
Let's talk right now. Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but certainly there are some legal gymnastics that are going on with these Caribbean strikes and everything related to Venezuela.
There's an argument there But yeah, there is some legal gymnastics going on there. I think that's fair. Should any members of the military refuse to carry out orders down there off the coast of Venezuela, or if the Trump administration decides to invade Venezuela, well, you can come to your own conclusion on that. Here's Glenn Beck.
This is something that no generation of American has ever seen, not in 250 years of constitutional history. A group of sitting members of Congress, senators and representatives, went on camera and told active duty military personnel and the CIA to ignore orders of the President of the United States.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
What message is that sending to the rest of the world? For the first time in American political history, members of the United States Congress openly encouraged the military to look at the commander-in-chief and say, no. You can say, and it's reasonable to say, well, this is just advice, right? It's a reminder that you don't follow illegal orders. Sounds reasonable until you look at history. Because history has a merciless way of identifying patterns long before politicians will admit to them. In the entire American experiment, there are only a handful of moments anything like this has occurred. And every single one of those was a moment that was a prelude to national fracture. 1860 to 1861, it was the secession winter. Southern leaders encourage officers at the federal level and forts to abandon the Union and pledge loyalty to the states. Not normal politics. This was the beginning of the rupture, and then came Fort Sumter. 1870, Reconstruction. Some states rejected federal authority outright. Sheriffs, militias, even sometimes judges refused federal directives. But Congress itself, they never told the Army to ignore the president. In Vietnam, members of Congress denounced the war, denounced Nixon, denounced Johnson, but no one ever told active duty troops disobey the commander-in-chief. It wasn't done. Because every generation up until this one understood something very basic. You cannot politicize the chain of command without breaking the republic. And once the military begins to decide on its own which orders are legitimate, which ones, which president they prefer, you no longer have civilian control. You no longer have a republic. You have factions inside an armed institution. And that is exactly how nations collapse. And every single one of those sitting representatives know it. Turkey, Argentina, Spain, Egypt. Every single example, the pattern is always the same. Political parties begin encouraging the military to resist the other side, and the center completely collapses. And this is the part where you need to hear me clearly. What we saw here this week with this is not the Bubba effect, where ordinary citizens lose trust in authority or rally behind the local guy. No. This is something far more seditious and serious. This is the institutional Bubba effect, where leaders inside the government with their own plan, the political class, begin urging Bubba in the military to take sides in domestic political disputes. That is a very, very bright line. The great unbroken line in American history, unbroken in our history. That line kept us from becoming every other failed republic. And now these people have stepped over it. Now, let me take on Donald Trump. Is this treason? No. Treason has a very narrow definition. Thank God. It requires aiding an enemy of the United States or levying war against the United States. So this is not treason in the strict constitutional sense. But here's the question. Isn't it something just as dangerous? Isn't it an attempt, intentional or not, to plant the idea inside the military that the president's orders are optional? The military does not take sides, period. Even if these lawmakers thought they were just, recommending moral guidance, they believe they were just reminding the troops to refuse illegal orders. That's not your job. That's the job of the generals and the job of Pete Hegseth. They do that in every classroom. Every time they're sworn in, they are told those words. That comes from within the ranks, not from political leadership. They told the rest of the world that in the bloodstream of our republic now is questioning the president. And that is unprecedented. It's historic and impossible to remove because it breaks the guardrails.
And see, when a soldier goes to war and they're given an order, one of the reasons they can usually, in our systems, either in Canada, the United States, UK, wherever, NATO countries, they can usually proceed with a high level of confidence that what they are about to do, whatever activity they're about to engage in, that it's lawful because there are checks and balances, or at least a review process that is supposed to take place all the way down the chain of command. And so they're relying on senior officers to review themselves these orders that come from the commander-in-chief, thinking and having confidence that if the commander-in-chief is perhaps making an error on a question of legality, that a senior official, maybe a general or some advisor, even in the Oval Office, as the order is being given, that they might be inclined to give some advice to the president. Mr. President, what you're asking us to do may not be legal. Let's get some review on this from some legal experts. Or maybe even review this from an ethical perspective. And so the frontline troops, they're working on the belief that this is the kind of review that takes place and that there is conversation that is open and frank and healthy, and that the president is open-minded enough and mature enough to listen, and where necessary and warranted, take advice and proceed accordingly. But when you have somebody in the office, the Oval Office, who surrounds himself with a bunch of yes men, like, say, a Pete Hegseth, who maybe doesn't have the intellectual depth to recognize unlawful orders, who has a long history of making mistakes, missteps, when his own integrity is even widely questioned, whose moral authority is also something that is less than robust. It leaves the president in his own little echo chamber, and you can see it off the coast of Venezuela right now because so many people have been afraid of Donald Trump. He has really come into this second presidency with a bunch of people around him who are afraid to oppose him. And not just people around him, but at every level, and even internationally. People are afraid to say anything negative to him, except Mamdani, who got a pass for some reason. Maybe again because those two guys have more in common than people realize. The communist and the fascist hanging out together in the Oval Office, strangely getting along like a couple of best friends, BFFs. Not surprising to me for now. But what of Venezuela? Well, tonight we see, ongoing massive buildup off the coast of Venezuela. About a quarter of the U.S. Navy is down there, I guess, something like that. It is crazy. It's just absolutely nuts. Hang on, going to take a break, come back. We'll continue on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We're back. The majority of Americans are opposed to invading Venezuela. New poll out. 7 in 10 American adults oppose U.S. military action against Venezuela. CBS News poll. Scroll down on social media, on X, and U.S. Homeland Security News. Update. U.S. has amassed the largest naval armada in modern history off the coast of Caracas, Venezuela. Will be soon free. Okay. Cue the dramatic music and then mute it so we don't get a copyright strike. This is the propaganda film that's circulating. Yeah, there you go. Just like a Top Gun action movie, because it's all a movie, because it's all designed to manufacture consent. But most people are seeing through this. Initially, when these vessels began moving into place, we were told, oh no, we're not interested in regime change, and now they're just openly calling for the removal of Maduro. Diplomats are leaving Venezuela, according to Fox News national security correspondent. So that's another
we have
development
some breaking
tonight.
news. According to the Fox News national security correspondent Jennifer Griffin, several diplomats are leaving Venezuela. We covered already the NOTAM for the Venezuelan airspace, then the airlines, now are diplomats. So the situation is very fluid right now, and we're going to cover on our news segment just a couple of hours later. We have.
Yeah. Also tonight, seeing that China has indicated it is going to continue to support Venezuela, whatever that means. I guess it means they're going to continue supplying weapons, but I don't know to what degree support comes from China to Venezuela. Also seeing videos tonight, which I think are more propaganda than anything, but it's showing Russia moving military assets like weapons, sending weapons to Venezuela for long-term use. But I don't know how real those posts are. I think a lot of that tonight is propaganda and artificial media. Just just my take on it. So yeah, just scrolling down, and this is what we're seeing. News from Venezuela could hit like a ton of bricks next week. Airlines cancel flights to Venezuela after FAA warning on military activity. This is really happening. The peace president, or so-called.
Se vaya del poder en Venezuela, ¿verdad? Y deje evolucionar a la sociedad venezolana.
Reuters, the U.S. prepares a new phase of operations against Venezuela with covert action likely coming first and regime change on the table. Wow. I-24 News English.
Defense for the... We're joined by Michael Mulroy, the former U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State of Defense for the Secretary of Defense, for the Middle East. Thanks for being with us. Look, it's about time, as I'll put out there right now, that the U.S. took action, it seems, against the Western Hemisphere's most hostile regime. Is that the way this administration is looking at it?
Well, I think, yes, they are. They look at Venezuela not only from the perspective of narcotics coming to the United States and killing Americans, which isn't the only country, of course, that has this issue, but also just the instability of the regime. It could be one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest country in South America, yet it is economically a disaster. They have one of the largest proven oil reserves in the world. So I think the United States views this as many problems coming from that, and ultimately that lands at the doorstep of Maduro. And I think that's where we're looking. The president, in an unusual situation, announced that the CIA is conducting covert operations. There's some indications, as you already mentioned, psychological operations, potentially sabotage operations that are already underway. And the largest U.S. aircraft carrier group in the world is now in the Caribbean. So if something is going to happen beyond this covert program, alleged covert program, then it is ready to happen now. With the amount of firepower the U.S. has in the Caribbean, it's more so than there has been in decades.
They're telling you, they're going in. They want him gone. So one way or another, Maduro is going to be gone. I hate to say it, but I told you so.
Maverick News isn't just a news outlet, it's a community of truth seekers. Your donation at freedomreporters.com fuels our mission to report the stories that mainstream media won't touch. Thank you, Maverick family.
Which brings us to the peace plan for Ukraine. The the U.S. peace plan. It's just, if you read this thing, or if you know what the details are, or even just what's on the surface, like this some people out there are saying, are you sure this was written by the U.S.? Because it sure seems like it's just the Russian plan. What this calls for is for Ukraine to give up more land, for Ukraine to limit the size of its military, to reduce the size of its military to 600,000 troops. For the United States, I think for Russia to pay the U.S. $100 billion or some crazy amount of money. And Trump has told Zelensky he has until Thursday to accept the deal. Now they have their ongoing talks going on in Geneva. Even tonight, Secretary of State Rubio is saying he's optimistic that the talks are going, I think, well, and he hopes to have a deal cut by Thursday. They had this news conference a number of hours ago. I do believe this is the most up-to-date commentary so far.
Good evening. Hey guys, how are we doing? Good. You're welcome. Hello. Thank you for coming. So let me, at the outset, let me say we're going to come back to here in a few minutes, maybe an hour or 2 hours from now. So I'm not going to take questions now because we're not going to take questions now because we want to come back to you, but we wanted to keep you updated. So it is in my personal view that we've had probably the most productive and meaningful meeting so far in this entire process since we've been involved in from the beginning. We have a very good work product that was already built on a foundation of input from all the relative parties involved here, and we were able to go through some of those items now, point by point, and I think we've made good progress. Our teams have now gone to their rooms as we're working on some of the suggestions that were proffered to us. So we're working through making some changes, some adjustments, in the hopes of furthering narrowing the differences and getting closer to something that both Ukraine and obviously the United States are very comfortable with. Obviously, this will ultimately have to be signed off by our presidents, although I feel very comfortable about that happening given the progress we've made. And then obviously there's the Russian side of the equation. But again, we think we have some pretty substantial insights over the last 9 months into some of the things that are really important to them. So I think the takeaway from it is I think this is a very, very meaningful, I would say probably best meeting and day we've had so far in this entire process, going back to when we first came into office in January. But there's still some work left to do, and that's what our teams are going to be doing right now. And we'd like to come back to you maybe a little later tonight with the further updates.
Dear journalist, dear Marco, and I want to confirm that we have a very productive first session with distinguished American delegation. We have very good progress, and we are moving forward to the just and lasting peace. Ukrainian people deserve and want this peace more than anyone in this planet. We thank our big friends, United States and personal President Trump and his team to their commitment to bring this peace. And we will continue to work today, as Secretary said. We will be working and in coming days to join proposals, and we will also will engage our European friends. And of course, the final words will be of our leaders, of the President of the United States and Ukraine. And I hope that we can achieve the good progress today. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back to you, and we'll be back to you in a little while with more. I know you have questions. Let us work on more answers for you, and then because it's literally we wanted to update you, but this is literally an ongoing process. But we wanted to keep you up to date on what's happening. We will come back to you later tonight, and maybe at that time be able to answer maybe some of the specific questions that you have. But let's get back to work, and we'll be back to you pretty soon. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Working on.
So it is an ongoing process, and they will update us, I expect, but I don't think it's going quite as well as they might think, or what they even believe, because there is pushback from European countries, Ukraine's allies in Europe, who have real concerns about this plan. Donald Tusk from Poland saying, questioning where this plan was really written, because it does seem to just mirror or echo or just repeat the Russian talking points. It seems like a plan that was originally authored by Russia. Was it? Well, you can assess for yourself. Does that sound like anything Ukraine would really agree to? It seems like rinse and repeat to me. So I'm not optimistic this is actually going to lead to a peace deal at all. And changes have been made. And as a result, we're seeing Russia say that Russian influencers in Russia and through Russian media say that the whole plan is being sabotaged. So over here on RT coverage this evening of the discussions in Geneva. The diplomats are currently holding talks in Geneva as the clock ticks down until the U.S. president's Thursday deadline for Kyiv to accept his proposal. Not clear what happens if they don't, other than Trump saying Zelensky can continue to fight his little heart out, is what he said the other day. The Kremlin, it says here, has refused to engage in what it called megaphone diplomacy following a series of vocal declarations of defiance from Brussels on Friday morning. European Council President Antonio Costa openly admitted that the EU had not been informed about the plan. Zelensky has also held an emergency call with French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Now, Rubio saying here, the Russians get a vote here and will be consulted in the next step toward peace settlement. Some believe that the entire thing was written by Russia, then hand-delivered to the Trump administration, and now Rubio is dealing with all of this in the negotiations or the discussions. Here's Zelensky online posting as we go through this process. This was at the beginning of it. Trump posting on social media on Truth that Zelensky has never said or has not thanked the United States for its support, which is not true. And so after he was accused of that very thing during that disastrous meeting in the Oval Office with J.D. Vance being Trump's attack dog on Zelensky, he went on a dog and pony show to repeat over and over again, thank you, thank you, thank you. And here he is again tonight on X saying, oh, exactly that, thank you. Today has been a day of numerous meetings, he says. Basically, here, hang on a second. It's got subtitles, so bring the audio down. I'll read this to you. I wish you health. Today has been a day of numerous meetings and negotiations. Basically, since morning, it's been calls, briefings, and consultations. The Ukrainian delegation in Geneva has already held a series of meetings with the American side and with our European partners as well. The delegation has just reported on the results of their discussions, and these were substantive. A lot is changing. We are working very carefully on the steps needed to end the war. Today, the negotiations in Switzerland will continue, and the teams will be working practically until night. And we will be receiving further reports from them. It is important that there is dialogue with the American representatives, because he has to be careful what he says and how he approaches this. He has to be diplomatic. He doesn't want to lose U.S. support. At the same time, he needs to maintain some degree of dignity. But this is not a plan that I think Ukraine is likely to accept unless there are substantial changes made. He continues here and says, and there are signals President Trump's team is hearing us. And I think there have been changes, which is why on the Russian side, you're now getting media saying that the whole process is being sabotaged. I also spoke today with the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, and with the prime ministers of Canada, Croatia, and Luxembourg. Just now I spoke with Chancellor of Germany, Friedrich Merz. I thank them all. Oh, he just said thank you, even though Trump accused him of never saying thank you. There have also been many more messages. Everyone is offering support, sharing advice, providing information, and I want to thank each and every person who is offering this help to us, to all of Ukraine. And it is important to ensure that the steps toward ending the war are effective and that everything is workable. Ukraine has never wanted this war, and we will never be an obstacle to peace. Diplomacy has been reinvigorated, and that's good, very good. We expect that the outcome will be the right steps. The first priority is a reliable peace, guaranteed security, respect for our people, respect for everyone who gave their life, defending Ukraine against Russian aggression. Tomorrow will be no less active. We're defending Ukraine's interests and the strength of our position, our state position. Our national Ukrainian position lies in the fact that it is our shared position. The unity of Ukrainians in defending our national interests, our independence, and our sovereignty is what makes the difference. There are directives for the Ukrainian delegation. There's a Ukrainian course that our delegation is following, and it is highly desirable that no contradictory signals, non-Ukrainian signals, be coming from Ukraine. I'm hearing now that partner intelligence services are informing them that the Russian position has begun to make its way through certain actors from Ukraine as well. This certainly does not help. We have our state position, we have our Ukrainian dignity, and we must move in a way that strengthens it, not undermines it. I expect that those whom this concerns will hear me now. Having a Ukrainian passport means feeling responsibility for Ukraine. And it is truly evident that millions of Ukrainians firmly support the state position, firmly support our independence and Ukrainian sovereignty. People must benefit from every political decision, and that is why we are working very thoroughly, very seriously, very attentively on every step and on every document, together with all our partners. Thank you to everyone around the world who stands with Ukraine. Thank you to America, to the President of the United States. We're saying thank you again, and to all the leaders in Europe and around the world who feel the significance of what can be decided right now. Glory to Ukraine. I think he said thank you a couple of times there. It's not over. I don't think this is going to lead to a peace deal. You see the rhetoric ramping up on both sides. I told you just now about Russia saying that the process is being sabotaged. And on the Ukrainian side, their influencers are weighing in on this as well. We've seen in the past week, and I don't think it's an accident, the exposure of this $100 million corruption scandal involving kickbacks through energy construction contracts within Ukraine, being kind of misrepresented somewhat through the media, because if you really dig into it, as I pointed out yesterday, the contracts are sort of isolated, so it's all domestic money, and the foreign aid that is flowing in has been insulated from this particular scandal, unless there are other aspects of the investigation that reveal otherwise. That seems to be the evidence right now. And so it's being played up, just as on the Ukrainian side, they're playing up Russian corruption. Anna from Ukraine, the Moscow Times says here in her post, just dropped a bombshell. Russia's central bank found a 10 trillion ruble black hole in unpaid loans That's 24% of the entire Russian budget, just gone. Another reason why the Kremlin is desperately pushing for a peace deal to save itself. She goes on and says, we didn't surrender in 2022, and we won't in 2025. Russia is weaker and poorer than ever.
Hello, guys, and I just love this new Moscow Times headline. The Central Bank of the Russian Federation has just discovered a time bomb. They lack 10 trillion rubles. 10 trillion rubles in loans that Russian companies or individual entrepreneurs cannot repay. Not because they don't want to, but because they don't have money for that. This is how the Kremlin quickly and effectively destroys Russia's businesses. And I don't know how come they did not notice the lack of 10 trillion rubles before. Because 10 trillion rubles is equal to 2 annual budgets of Moscow, or 24% of the total Russian federal budget. Actually, this discovery may be one of the reasons why Ukraine is so pressured to sign an agreement that totally works for the Kremlin. Another way to save Moscow. We did not surrender back in 2022, so we don't plan to do the same in 2025 when Russia is the weakest ever and the poorest ever. Please share to spread the truth. And
yeah, so it doesn't sound like there are pieces on at hand, but it would be nice if the war would come to an end, because a lot of people are dying. Okay, let's pull down out of that. See, the other reason, and here's the thing, I keep saying to Donald, you have to stop beating up your friends and realize that these new friends you have are really not your friends, because as this is unfolding, this is being posted on Russia News. Here, I'll show you. They're highlighting this. It says Trump loses $1.1 billion since September amid a decline in shares of his media company, Trump Media and Technology Group. The loss leads to an estimate of his current wealth at $6.2 billion. What's the video sound like? Just music. he's counting his money. What the heck is that? That's his pocket change, I guess, so he can buy lunch. He's got money, and he's holding money. Like, what? This is old video. I don't know what is with the money. Okay, weird. I don't think it's probably not that true. To be frank with you, I really doubt but that's what they're posting because they're coming after him. Oh my. Okay, I'll be right back. Just don't give away.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
I'll tell you the other reason I don't think this is going to lead to a peace deal is because Ukraine has become more aggressive in its efforts. They're now striking inside Russia using, even in many cases, Ukrainian-made missiles, cruise missiles, the Flamingos, and drones. And just within the last 24 hours, we've seen this happen. This is a massive, massive explosion at a power facility that supplies Moscow with electricity. Here's video. And it looks like this was a multi-drone strike, and the effects were powerful and visible and pronounced. Massive explosion.
Еще взрыв. Еще прилетел один. Не стреляет.
This is inside Russia. And this is causing serious disruption in Moscow. They've moved, crews into place to try to effect repairs and deal with this. But this is going to leave much of Moscow, I think, in the dark for a while. It's pretty serious.
Вот черный гад пошла. Да ты чё?
More video here.
Или что это? Что это? А?
Пытаются сбивать.
Да? Вот летит.
Another angle on that.
Успокоиться нахуй. Ебать того Люсю. Блядь. Сука. Пизда. Успокоиться нахуй.
Yeah. Another angle here. Lots of video out there circulating, documenting this one. This doesn't look like peace to me. And this peace deal or whatever it is they're rolling out in Geneva, the timing of it seems odd to me, especially because we've seen, more economic pressure being placed on Russia. We've seen Ukraine being, really honestly very successful with these strikes on Russian energy infrastructure. At the same time, Russia hitting back very hard and taking out a lot of Ukrainian energy infrastructure as they deal with another cold winter. But the nature of the war has certainly shifted over there, and it's a war that was not over in a matter of days or weeks, as the pro-Russian pundits were telling us from the beginning. Ukraine stood no chance. It was going to be over very quickly. They might as well just give up, don't send any aid. And here we are all this time later, years into a conflict that, while we may have a peace summit of sorts taking place in Geneva, I don't think it's going to lead to peace. It's perception. You might perceive it to be a path to peace, but so too is the situation in the Middle East being portrayed as an end to war, and a renewed peace. And that's not the case, because here tonight we have Netanyahu talking about striking inside Beirut and killing a senior Hezbollah official. So I ask you, is this peace in the Middle East? Did Trump bring peace? As a few hours ago, this is Netanyahu, Israel Defense Forces eliminated Haytham Tabtabai, Hezbollah's terror organization chief of staff. Tabtabai or Tabtabi is a mass murderer. His hands are filled with blood of many Israelis and Americans, and not without reason. The United States offered a $5 million prize over his head.
של $5 מיליון על הראש שלו. תפתאי שימש
He was a senior in the Radwan force. This is the force that planned to take over the Galilee.
מפקד בכיר בכוח רדואן, זה הכוח שהתכונן לכבוש את הגליל ולשחוט הרבה
Slaughter many of our citizens. And you see the results of the attack. Doesn't look like peace to me. Maybe not. Maybe not the scale of conflict that we were witnessing in Gaza, but that's because there's nothing left of Gaza. And now Trump literally is planning on building hotels in, where the rubble is right now. And the nature of warfare has changed. Drones, artificial intelligence. It's real. It's here. It's now. In Ukraine, one of the reasons they've been able to resist the Russian incursion is because of their use of drones. And for quite a while, they had something of an edge because necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. And they were very innovative, and a drone industry within the country sprang up. As a result, they've developed not just aerial drones, but also they've been using unmanned ground vehicles or land drones, which now deliver 90% of supplies to frontline troops. They dodge Russian drones, artillery, and landmines in a zone that is deadly. They call it the kill zone. Too dangerous for trucks. It's too slow to maneuver on foot. The robots go where human beings can't because they'd get mowed down. It's basically a modern no man's land, if you know anything about World War I. Each mission starts in a garage and ends basically in a life or death struggle. 1 out of 3 makes it across, but these robots, the first robot supplied battlefield, that's what we have here, where survival depends on battery life and signal strength. And this is a post again on X showing you what these things look like. And this is what has helped Ukraine even the odds, even though they have a deficiency in manpower when compared to Russia. This is from United 24. I find it a little bit, unnerving. This is the current state of warfare, but it gives us a very, I'd say, a dark look at what the future of warfare is looking like. It's not just about F-35s. It isn't just high-tech, high-dollar cruise missiles. It's low-dollar drones being used to take out high-value military assets like tanks. I also have a video here showing how drones are being used, if I still have it, for surveillance. Right here. This shows the level of skill that these drone operators have. This drone flies right inside a building. Source for this is Vicegrad 24. They picked up this video and they've reposted it. And look at the way this drone flies through this building to see if there are Russian soldiers inside. This takes skill, man. The way it goes through all these obstacles so that a human being doesn't have to go in there to clear the building. Can you fly a drone like that? I can't. That takes some skill. And this is what's being done today. Imagine what it's going to be like a year, 3 years, 5 years. Terminator, man. Terminator. Except when I say man, I'm thinking maybe it's not about men. It's about replacing us all. If they would fight wars with just the machines and leave the humans out of it, it might not be quite so bad. But human life has very little value, it seems. Talking about artificial intelligence, and literally last night, sitting here having that conversation with Grok, and Grok predicted the end of humanity as we know it because of artificial intelligence, and combined with Neuralink, the end of humanity as we know it. I literally, on this program last night, sat here, had a conversation with an AI chatbot that told us humanity as we know it is likely to come to an end, that our generation is probably the last that will be just straight up human. That moving forward through time, human beings are going to be augmented, maybe even more than that. That blew my mind, and it has left me with chills ever since. This, after just moments before I said 2025 should be marked as the year, the turning point for artificial intelligence, the moment where AI really took root and became a threat as much as a promise to humanity.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
It isn't surprising, I suppose, that AI emerged yesterday as a main topic of discussion, because we are seeing AI issues become top news stories of just about every day, because the technology is progressing at an exponential rate. It's affecting our economy in profound ways, dramatic ways. Stock market going up and down. It's affecting relationships. It's affecting our politics. We're going to be talking about this a lot more in the days and the weeks ahead, because it does represent a true threat to humanity. Some people working in the industry, even CEOs of some of these tech companies developing artificial intelligence itself, are warning us that we may not survive. I just watched an interview with the CEO of a less known CEO, but still a major AI company, who says he gives humanity a 50-50 chance. Direct quote of survival. And indeed, I would say the jacking in doesn't really augment your humanity or your existence as a human or make you a better human being. I'm wondering if jacking in through something like Neuralink to integrate your humanity with artificial intelligence ends up stripping you of your humanity, because what is it that makes you makes you human? Your individuality, it's about you. It strikes at the very heart of what we talk about here every single night on Maverick News, at least the perspective that I bring forward through this platform and this program. Individuality, individualism. That's humanity. You are you. Your fingerprint makes you you. You are truly unique. Every human being different. No carbon copies unless they clone you or duplicate you digitally. But is that really you? These are burning questions being thrust upon us. Tonight, Washington Post headline, picking up on the issue. And not surprisingly, it's driving a wedge between Trump and his MAGA base, because a lot of the people in the MAGA community, the freedom community, are worried about convergence. They're worried about loss of humanity, loss of maybe even our souls through technology. And yet, surprisingly, I find so many, especially on the freedom side of things, I think they're being duped. I think a lot of us are being duped into accepting the technology and embracing it and even calling for it, while at the same time being fearful of it and being opposed to it. It'll become clearer as we explore this issue of AI, integration, transhumanism. Here's the headline: the surprising issue driving a wedge between Trump and his MAGA base. Scroll down. President Donald Trump. This is the article. It says President Donald Trump faces an unexpected rift in the MAGA movement as Republican officials from state houses to Capitol Hill warn his full-throated embrace of the tech industry's artificial intelligence boom risks undermining Americans' economic security and exposing their children to new harms. It goes deeper than that, but that's certainly on the surface. Trump has appointed influential tech investors and entrepreneurs to key positions in his administration and backed the sector's ambitions for AI, scrapping regulations introduced by President Joe Biden and facilitating huge investments from foreign companies and governments into American AI firms. You've seen them in the Oval Office. You've seen him sitting next to the tech giants, Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, Sam Altman, Elon Musk, technocrats. It goes on. This past week, the White House explored using an executive order to quash state regulation on AI. Oh, yeah, let's have less regulation as this technology emerges, which could destroy humanity. The president has trumpeted the billions of dollars in investments flooding into the technology, which has propped up U.S. economic growth this year. As evidence, his plan to reboot the American economy is working. But a growing cohort of Republicans, including Governors Ron DeSantis of Florida and Sarah Huckabee Sanders of Arkansas, and prominent members of Congress, like Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri, argue AI's breakneck growth could undermine the party's populist appeal. Some have called for regulation to protect Americans against job losses driven by automation, shield teenagers from harms caused by chatbots, and curb spikes in utility bills linked to the energy-guzzling data centers that power AI technology. Take note of that, ladies and gentlemen. It's about power. It's about energy. Do you think it's any accident that Trump is going after Venezuela, oil-rich Venezuela? The Trump administration is targeting Alberta, oil-rich Alberta, where we're hearing talk about a giant artificial intelligence center, data center being established there, right where the energy is. These facilities suck up massive amounts of energy. They can't get enough. They're building small modular nuclear reactors, are going to be next to some of these facilities to power them. Elon Musk, just within the last couple of days, talking about putting AI facilities in outer space in orbit in the form of satellites, which will be solar powered because they're more efficient. So he's talking about putting a network of those up there. It's all about the energy, you see, because, and here's a broader perspective on it for you. Energy, oil, props up the US dollar. It's the petrodollar. Saudi Arabia is involved in that because their policy has been that you have to buy oil from them at US dollars. That's propped up the US dollar, especially since the 70s, turning the US dollar into a petrodollar. Trump recognizes that. He wants the US economy still to be based largely on oil revenue. He wants to power AI using oil, natural gas, fossil fuels. That's what is going on up in Alberta with AI. Kevin O'Leary, part of all of that. Daniel Smith, part of that. But you see, as you look at it in economic terms and in more abstract economic terms, oil then becomes not just an energy source, it becomes currency, a form of currency. It's linked directly to the dollar. It is then converted into energy, which is then converted into digital currency, bits and bytes. And if human beings are integrated into that system through Neuralink, you become digitized. You become part of the system. You become currency. You become part of the matrix in that way. As bizarre and as conspiratorial as that sounds, that is a fact. You become controllable. You become tradable. You can become completely trackable. They can buy you, they can sell you, because you become a digital commodity, because at every level, the energy, you become energy. Converted forms of energy, but energy nonetheless. And energy can be converted into different forms. You can be transported. You can be transmitted at light speed. The only price you end up paying to convert yourself is maybe your humanity. Maybe you give up who you are. Because as you become integrated into that system, if you jack in, you're not just processing or accessing information the way you do with your phone, because I can disengage with that phone or disengage from this computer when I'm done this broadcast tonight, and I can go outside into the real world. But you jack in, you're not in control anymore, because they can upload to you directly into your brain, into your cerebral cortex. And even after you die, physically, whatever it is that you have become in the Matrix persists. They can make copies of it, and if you have AI, it can evolve and you become part of it. But there's a singularity that comes from that, because with that reality, there ends up being ultimately a singularity of thought. Diversity goes out the window. There ends up being, I would say, probably ultimately an ultimate truth, which may not be truth at all. It becomes a consensus, an agreed upon truth that we as humanity end up accepting in order to remain relevant within the society. Because if you don't allow yourself to get jacked in, you get left behind. You'll be part of a tribe or a community, but you'll be in the minority, likely oppressed, probably not protected, because you're not part of the greater society that moves on without you. You'll be left behind while the rest of humanity is uploaded into a digital reality, and their interactions, in whole and or in part, with the real world may take place in an artificial way through robotics, where your consciousness may be uploaded into an actual robot where you become immortal, or so you think, or as long as the energy is still there to preserve the memory of you. It just opens up this whole new world where the truths that we have always held so close and so dear and have embraced in order to preserve our sanity dissolve into a new reality where any reality becomes possible, because it's moldable, transformable, because you've transformed. You become a transhuman. Trans rights. What are you? In the Matrix, you can be whatever you choose to be. Or not to be. Sandy sent me video of something that kind of runs contrary to all of that, because it's Christian in many respects, and it's the real world, and it's that time of year. It's Christmas. We have these Santa Claus parades taking place in communities, real communities in the real world, where the air is crisp this time of year, and the leaves have turned color, they're falling on the ground. Crowds line streets to greet St. Nick. And indeed, that's what we saw here in Toronto. Let's see if I can find the actual spot where Santa Claus comes to town. I've got the parade here out of TO today. That's the end here. I don't know if I've went up here. Well, we've got marching bands. Just going to bring a little bit of the Santa Claus parade action. There it is. This is Out and About with yours truly, Lizzo. C brings us the video today. They're rocking it in Toronto. The parade in my community was held a couple of weeks ago. Where's Santa Claus? If you're in the Matrix, do you get to celebrate Christmas? Does anybody care at that point? If you're just a bunch of bits and bytes? Is that the Grinch? No, that's an elf. Well, then we have lots of these going on right now this time of year. Well, a little Santa Claus parade, Christmas action for you there to get you in the mood. What's the date today? The 23rd of November. So you only have about a month to go out there and rack up those bills on your credit card. Running out of time. Better get out there, get your shopping done. If you shop online and order stuff in, you're just making people like Jeff Bezos richer. I don't know if he needs any more money. He seems to have plenty so that he can fly around in his big giant rocket ship. But this got me in the spirit, and I thought I'd bring the spirit of Christmas to you for the first time this year as we await the arrival of old Saint Nick. So I'll leave you with this tonight. Maverick and the News Brothers. All I want for Christmas is freedom. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. On the flip side. Love you.
The snow falls quiet. The stars burn bright. A season of hope in the winter's night. But my heart still aches for those who fight for freedom's flame in the darkest light. True freedom fighters, the Mavericks we praise, blazing their trails through shadowy days. They stand unbroken, their courage shines for every soul, for all mankind. All I want for Christmas is freedom, for every maverick to lead the way. Goodwill toward men, let the light begin, and a brighter dawn for a brand new day. Break the chains of tyranny, let the world hear our rights are from a higher place, so clear. All I want this Christmas, my cheer, is freedom for all, far and near. The battle's not over, the war still calls against those who build oppression's walls. But the maverick spirit will never fade. fade, a beacon of hope through history's blade. So we pray for strength and we stand as one for the rights of the many and the dreams yet spun. The gift of freedom, it knows no price, born of courage, sacrifice. All I want for Christmas is freedom, for every maverick to lead the way, goodwill toward men, let the light begin, and a brighter dawn for a brand new day. Break the chains of tyranny, let the world hear our rights are from a higher place, so clear. All I want this Christmas, my cheer, is freedom for all far and near. Let's honor the brave, the fearless, the true, the mavericks who dare to break through. Their fights our fight, they cause divine freedom for all, for your heart and mine. All I want for Christmas is freedom, for every maverick to light the way. Goodwill toward men, let the peace begin, and a brighter world for us to stay. Stand against dictators, let justice ring, our rights from above, the anthem we sing. All I want for Christmas this year is freedom for all far and near. Ooh. This Christmas we remember the maverick so bold who carried the torch in the freezing cold. Freedom's the gift, the fight never done. This Christmas we pray it's for everyone.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.